All right, welcome to another edition of Current Affairs Taiwan. This is Michael Turton, and I'm Donovan Smith. Why don't you kick us off? What do we got?
We got a lot. We got Han Kuo-yu, the KMT presidential candidate, the one-time mayor of Kaohsiung, still technically the mayor of Kaohsiung.
Yeah, he is.
Has chosen a vice presidential candidate.
Yeah.
And who is this man?
Zhang.
What's his name in English?
Simon Chang.
Simon Chang.
Yeah.
What was he before?
Well, he was the premier for under Ma Ying-jeou. Now, the CNA keeps reporting he was the most popular premier under Ma Ying-jeou. Well, the problem is that he was basically, after the KMT lost the election in the landslide to the DPP in January in 2016, in February they put in, basically he was kind of a caretaker, lame duck before Taiwan was brought in in May for inauguration. So basically it was between the election and it was like 3 months, you know. So, yeah. So, a few things about him?
Yeah, a couple of things struck me. First of all, he's the kind of guy you pick when you look at all the other candidates.
Yep.
And you just think, if we pick that guy, like, for example, Zhu Liren, Eric Zhu, the former mayor of New Taipei City, or Hao Longbing, the former mayor of Taipei, who's the son of Hao Bo-sun, the former premier in the bad old days, or anyone like that, you risk picking someone who's going to have more weight than Han Kuo-yu. More experience of administration, more experience dealing with people overseas, who's not going to talk like a Taiwanese guy who's trying to talk his way out of a car accident, right?
Well put, yeah.
That's Han Kuo-yu. But he turned left, and I didn't see him, and the light was green, and the sun was in my eyes, and the dog ate my driver's license.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's Han Kuo-yu talking.
Yeah.
So that was my first response. And the other thing I thought was kind of interesting, in a sad way, actually, was that here's Han Kuo-yu. He's married into a Taiwanese family down in Yunlin. Powerful local political family. He can switch back and forth between talking like an ROC ultra-nationalist and talking like a 50-year-old Taiwanese guy. He can switch back and forth between these two modes of communication very fluidly. He talks like a Taiwanese. He's very good, and he picks a technocrat who's a mainlander, just like himself. So once again, you peel away all of the noise and fuss, and you've got two mainlanders running for the presidential and vice presidential position for the KMT. It's the same stuff that all of us who watch this island have been criticizing now for what, 20 years? Basically,
30 years.
Yeah, basically since the free election.
Since we were 5 years old.
Yeah, that's right. I'm only 23, okay?
We were criticizing the KMT when we were still swimming around in our father's balls. So yeah, I mean, basically we have Han Kuo-yu. He picks his VP candidate, and I really have to applaud him for going for a bit of diversity on the ticket.
Oh?
Yes, because it's really important that he wanted to make sure, because he's from what was Taipei County, now New Taipei City.
Right.
So Han's a mainlander from New Taipei City. He had to branch out and go for the diversity for a mainlander born in Taipei City.
Wow.
Yeah,
across
and
the border.
Who is, as he made very clear before he announced his choice, was not bald.
Was not bald, that's right.
Yes.
Remember that.
These are the critical details.
And not baldness.
So I think there's a few interesting things about Simon Chang. He's not actually a KMT party member, which is interesting. However, he says that he does not see color.
Yeah, right.
By that, which he means blue and green, which we're not buying that. But he's a technocrat, basically. He used to work for Google. He went to Stanford and Cornell. So he's a technocratic kind of guy, and he does seem to think out of the box. He does seem to be imaginative. He's come with some interesting ideas in the past. So I mean, there's that. But he's not a heavyweight. I think Eric Chu would have been a better choice, but I'm sure Eric Chu was like, yeah, no thanks. So to me, this struck me as the candidate that Han would pick if he couldn't get any big, any big name. Because I don't think he brings much to the. I mean, he knows him. The big advantage is that he knows him well. because he's been in charge of his campaign since, or his policy formulation group, which you can check out, by the way, on sanity.tw if you want to see. It's all in Chinese. Yes, sanity. .tw, it's all in Chinese. But anyway, you can check out their policy platform for Han Kuo-yu's campaign. But so Simon Chang's been in charge of that. So they've been working together. They know each other. So there's that advantage. That's good, I suppose, for them.
But he doesn't bring any geographical advantage.
No.
There's no ethnic advantage.
No ethnic advantage.
I think actually if you start listing in your head all of the possible Taiwanese KMT candidates that he could have picked, nothing leaps to mind.
Well, Wang Jinping would have been the obvious choice, but there's no way he was going to get him.
No.
Well, Johnny Chang.
Well,
Jiang Jitsun. He would have been a good choice.
He would have been a great choice.
Yeah, he's Taiwanese. He's articulate.
Central Taiwan.
Central Taiwan. The red and the black factions have really lined up against Han. This would be showing. This would basically be rewarding that. But I'm not sure the Huang Fuxing or a lot of the Taipei mainlanders would have been able to get behind him.
Yeah,
I think that's the problem.
It's your problem. The KMT's. What's the word I want? It's restricted in its choice of candidates by the power of the old deep blues deep inside the KMT.
Yeah. And something that a lot of people forget is that Han Kuo-yu comes out of a military family, and the Huang Fuxing is within the KMT, this is a very, very powerful faction, and it's made up of old military veterans, and they traditionally have been a dominant force in the KMT. And so Han Kuo-yu is from a military family, so he's from that background. And a lot of people forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, so what happened this week? Dan Han, the common man, was found to have a $70 million apartment in Taipei. Over $3 million US.
72 million in Nehu, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the term for it is haozai. Yeah, and then he got, and this was something I saw on the TV talk shows. They were all going, wait a minute, he got this as a loan from Taiwan Fertilizer. And
wait, what?
He was able to pay for it.
Agricultural cooperative.
No, this is before.
This is before.
Yeah, this is before.
Oh.
But he got this loan, and like the TV talk show host, apparently they looked into it, and that was actually kind of legit, except that it's weird. In other words, for a brief period of time, Taiwan Fertilizer was offering loans to people to buy apartments from them. And nobody had ever heard of this being a thing, and apparently they did this for a very brief period of time. And I guess somebody clued him in. But according to Han, he said that the reason that they turned around and sold it not long afterward because they couldn't afford the mortgage and lost a little bit of money.
That wouldn't surprise me, actually.
Yeah.
And that's a huge mortgage. $3 million bucks.
Yeah.
Wow.
US, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's running on, or has been running on, this, get rich. Taiwan's going to get rich and prosperous. Not sure he's very good at it himself.
So we're all going to get loans from the fertilizer company. That's how it's going to do it, guys. I'm going to go sign the papers right now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of long, interesting history behind fertilizer and under the Japanese
the KMT.
and the KMT. And anyway, but that's for another day. Let's talk about that stuff after the election. So, all right, what have we got next?
What do we got next? Oh, Han said he was going to be hit with 5 nuclear bombs.
Let's read that quote.
We got to find this quote here.
I got the quote here.
You got the quote there?
Yeah,
okay.
I got the quote. All right, hold on a sec. Let me call this up. And here we go. Okay, the headline, it's in the Taipei Times if you want to look this up. Han warns of nuclear smear tactics by Big Brother. So, here we are. This is worth reading. Taiwanese, this is a quote from Han Kuo-yu. Taiwanese, keep your eyes peeled for a series of nuclear bomb attacks designed to defame Han Kuo-yu, which will be launched very soon, he said. Quote, Big Brother is watching, and Big Brother is about to take action. They have prepared 5 nuclear bombs to kill Han Kuo-yu. Just wait and see, he said. He also elaborated a claim he made on Saturday about the DPP being like the Mongols who crossed China's Great Wall to pillage, which he said was aimed at urging people to pay attention to the way the DPP might be abusing its power. Quote, a ruling party that is only concerned about stealing resources from the people, society, and the country could cause great damage to a nation.
Well, you got to admit, when it comes to abuse of power, the KMT guys are experts.
Historically, yeah. A couple of interesting things about that.
Yeah.
Number one is he's very specific, 5 nuclear bombs. So does this mean that he's got basically 5 skeletons in his closet we don't know about that he figures they're going to bring out and use against him?
5 illegitimate children? I got no idea.
I mean, he's already been convicted of negligent manslaughter. He's already hospitalized, an ex-president, although before he was president. He's got so much in his past already, and it hasn't sunk him so far.
No.
So I'm wondering, he's saying they're going to bring out 5 nuclear bombs. If he thinks they're nuclear bombs, and there's specifically 5 of them, what is it? What are they going to drop on him? So I found this a really weird statement. Now, you brought up an interesting point when we were talking just before the show, that he compared the DPP to the Mongols.
Yeah, and that made them non-Chinese outsiders.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. So maybe he's suggesting that Taiwanese aren't really Chinese.
No.
I'm joking.
Wait. Wait. So rumors this week, you were recounting them to me while we were typing all this stuff up.
Which ones? There's so many of them.
Terry Guo, the Foxconn head, who's always going to be some political party's presidential candidate.
Right. Okay, so we got the PFP, right? So they can still nominate.
That's the People's First Party.
The People's First Party.
That's the one that James Sung took out of the KMT just after the 2000 election.
Yep. And so it's basically it's his ego-driven party. He's the giant dog in this party, James Sung, Song Zuyu, and so he is now. There's been talk of now he's already turned down Wang Jinping as their presidential candidate. Is what it looks like. That's the chatter right now. There's still some chatter of Terry Go, the Foxconn or Hanhai founder, Guo Taiming, that he might be their candidate. But most of the chatter now is James Song is going to run for the 700th time. He's run for president or vice president, I believe, in every election since 2000. And he came.
True. That's true.
He came near to winning as presidential candidate in 2000.
Yeah.
He almost won. Chen Shui-bian won that election, but not by a big margin.
3 points, 39 to 36.
Yeah.
And Sung and Lian Jian got 24 for the KMT.
Yeah. But it was actually, for a long time, up until the last few weeks, it was a tight 3-way.
Yeah.
It was like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. It was really kind of a...
But polls in those days were kind of awful.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the problems
as opposed to today when they're
terrible
great.
Polling. What are you talking about?
So,
okay, polls in those days were really bad, and now they're just marginally bad.
Well, they got better for a while, and I think they've been getting worse again.
Yeah,
but
since, since global, since TISR was anyway. Never mind that.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
So the Go family army was supposed to be so Terry Go's followers, his Go family army, were supposed to be cooperating with who?
The TPP, and they've actually talked openly, both sides, about that.
Oh, so the TPP, that's the Taiwan People's Party, that's Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je's party.
Yeah. And the Taiwan People's Party has been launching a whole string of candidates, district candidates, and they've been coming out. Now, the Go family army said they were going to be putting out, and then they've kind of been wobbling, like they're not really doing much. So I really don't know what's going on with Terry Go.
I don't think Terry Go knows anymore.
Yeah, and I'm really kind of confused, to be honest with you. He was so gung-ho to run. He was so gung-ho about running legislative candidates. and he just sort of like keeps going to the brink and then pulling back.
You think Matsu cut him off? She's not telling him what to run for anymore?
So, yeah, Matsu, the goddess Matsu told him to run. Then he dropped out. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see.
All right. What about Mr. Ho Yo-i, the mayor of New Taipei City, the KMT mayor of New Taipei City?
Yeah.
Who's very popular.
Yeah, he's pretty popular. I think he's the most popular guy in the KMT. I'd say.
I would say so too.
Yeah, but the thing is that he's Taiwanese. He's from Jiayi, so he's not your typical KMT guy. He was he's police chief, national police, head of the national police. He was pretty close to Chen Shui-bian. The DPP tried to recruit him. He's obviously very hardworking.
Yeah.
And he keeps making fun, basically. Read between the lines, he's making fun of Han Kuo-yu. He's dodging him. He doesn't want to appear on stage with him. He's not shown up for any campaign events. But he is, and just did a bunch of photo shoots with local legislative candidates. So now his excuse for not getting involved or helping Han Kuo-yu campaign is he keeps saying, I'm too busy being the mayor. Which is I just got elected to be mayor. I don't have time for this. But he's helping the local legislative candidates campaign. So he's got time for that. Han Kuo-yu can come to him in New Taipei, and he still doesn't have time for him. So I'm very curious to see, because he keeps bucking the KMT. He didn't do a flag-raising thing on Double 10 against party orders. He's obviously not being a party. He's not helping the party here with their presidential campaign. So I'm kind of wondering how loyal he really is to the KMT. That's, I mean, if he were to leave the KMT, that would be a devastating blow to them, I think.
Yeah.
I honestly think he's their one great hope right now.
Did Wang Jinping actually formally leave? Or
no,
is this just...
he's still a KMT member.
He's still a KMT member. Is he still running for president?
Yeah, he said he's running to the end, and the heavens will find a way for him,
yes,
or not.
They will.
Although recently he started to admit, or not. He's openly now kind of like, well, either the heavens will provide me a way, or they won't. So at this point, either the PFP or the NPP are his only hopes. The NPP would never in a million years nominate him, and the PFP's pretty much shot it down.
Yeah.
So I think,
The NPP is melting down anyway. Then they lost two more this week.
Yeah. Now this was interesting. Is they lost a Taipei City Councilor. Now that's actually a pretty important position, because when you're a Taipei City Councilor, you often get on the TV news talk shows, because you're in Taipei and it's the capital, and so a city councilor in Taipei is kind of a more high-profile position than city councilors anywhere else in the country by a large margin. So losing one of those is a big blow. And then they also lost someone who ran as a candidate, didn't win, but was a party spokesperson before. So that's two more. Two things that struck me. One is that, and I've seen a couple of polls where their party list, there's that 5% threshold to get party list seats in the legislature. If they can get 5% of the vote. I've seen the last couple of polls that I've seen had them at, I think, 5.3 and 5.8. And so losing... Close. Right. And so here's the thing, that they lose these people that voted for, these two candidates, they might lose, this might be another 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 percentage points that they lose, which they can't afford.
Right.
The NPP can't afford to lose tenths of a percent anymore, and the other thing that really struck me is that now there's enough people who've left the party, Hong Tse-yong, Freddie Lim, these two, there's some others who've left as well. They could form another party. There's enough people there to form, there's enough people that already elected officials to form a viable new party.
Possible, but then...
And they should, because there's all kinds of perks which come with having a party, which you noted. with the founding of a bunch of YouTubers came together and founded the Ultimate Happiness Party.
Yeah, that was all over the headlines, and everyone was tweeting and Instagramming and whatnot about these 3 YouTubers, right, who founded this political party. But, I pointed out on Twitter and other places, the reason you form a political party is not because you want politics, but because the accounting for political parties is a heck of a lot easier than an accounting for a for-profit business or for an NGO. So political parties are basically the next best thing to unsupervised.
Yeah, it's like having a super PAC in the U.S. It's basically you can get a whole bunch of money, and you can do pretty much whatever you want with it.
You only have to report what you spend. Right?
Yeah, something like that. And you can't give away gifts worth more than 30 NT.
But they're not going to give away anything anyway.
No, they don't have to.
Right.
But I do like their platform of ultimate happiness and opposition to cilantro.
Wait. I'm sorry, I can't support the opposition to cilantro.
I actually just don't care.
Oh, okay.
I think they were joking around saying that all their top people just don't happen to like cilantro.
Well, quite a lot of other things happened this week. There was that story running around, and you told me the corrective came out today in the Taipei Times about Chinese hacking into university server at Zhongshan University.
Yeah, apparently it turned out that it wasn't Chinese hackers. It was actually a student hacked in and changed something to an 87 or something like that. It was basically internet slang for idiot, and it was a local student was testing the system for weaknesses. So it was actually it wasn't Chinese hacking.
I read a couple of years ago that the university systems here are so antiquated that some of the engineering students at some of the universities put bots inside the systems. And then when they need to register for classes, they fire up the system on registration day.
Right.
The bots register all their classes right away. So they get all the classes that they want. This apparently happens at several universities.
Oh, I wish I'd had one of them during my brief stint in university.
Up until a couple of years ago, my university used Windows XP. It had all the computers that I had Windows XP on them. And you couldn't get into the university system in Chrome. You had to use XP until about 4 years ago.
Okay.
It's crazy how out of date these systems are.
Yeah, but they're bureaucratic.
Well, a lot of it's private universities. It's the same problem that you see everywhere in Taiwan. Cost down, cost down, cost down.
Yeah.
So, anyway, back to the topic here. Oh, yes. And the DPP was saying this week that out of 300 agricultural cooperatives in Taiwan, the heads of 176 support the DPP.
Allegedly. I'll tell you why. I kind of, because here's the thing. Okay, historically, we both know that these agricultural associations, which in fishermen and local farmers associations, irrigation as well, have traditionally been tied to the local the patronage factions, and most of the local political patronage factions, they originally were all loyal to the KMT. Some of them have bolted to the DPP, but I don't think over half, which is what they're trying to suggest. I'm not buying that over half have jumped ship to the DPP, at least for real. They may be saying it,
right?
Because they want to keep the subsidies coming in from the central government. They may go, sure, we support you, keep giving us the subsidies, and then they give the money to the local KMT candidate.
Remember in our Taichung election,
yes, and I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, they said several of the agricultural cooperatives would either switch to the DMPP or declare neutrality.
Right.
But in the end, what effect did they have on the election?
They all came out for Liu Xiaoyan and the KMT. And it was also, they were saying that the local, because, it was right, because I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That there was these reports that were claiming them, and also the Lijiangs.
Right, the Lijiang.
The local,
we talked about
the borough chiefs. And that they had swung their support behind the DPP and Lin Jialong, and at the end of the day,
wasn't there.
Nope.
No.
So I'm not buying it. I mean, there's a few places in the country where the political patronage factions have jumped ship to the DPP. So in those areas, sure, I'm sure some of them are for real.
Yeah,
but I'm not buying over half.
Well, we had one more thing that came out just today. I think it was that Beijing was ordering the students to leave.
Yeah.
Their own Chinese students to leave Taiwan for the election.
Right. And so a screenshot was sent to Apple Daily, and according to the reports that several other students in other cities had also confirmed this, I don't know if it's for real or not, but you had a very interesting observation on this on Twitter.
If it's true, yeah.
Yeah, if it's true.
If it's true, then the CCP is really terrified.
Yeah. And I saw you posted that on Twitter. And,
yeah.
Now, this is interesting because I think this could tie into Hong Kong.
Yeah, and we need to talk about this.
If this is true, that they're ordering the students to leave during the election period so they can't watch it. Because with what's going on in China right now, in Hong Kong, up to now, the majority, it looks like, from everything we're hearing out of China, that your average Chinese citizen, there's people who are starting, who support the protesters in Hong Kong, but the majority of your normal Joe, old 100 names Joe blog on the street, is against the Hong Kong protesters and believe the Communist Party line. Here's the thing, though, is that the Communist Party line, they can keep saying, that the students are wrong, they're being, misled by foreign agents and all of this. But if the students in Hong Kong keep going, keep persevering, 坚持 in Chinese, and it sounds a little stronger, I think, in Chinese than in English. If they keep it up, I suspect that what the government in China is worried about, and the Chinese Communist Party, and I think this may be a very real fear, is that people in China might start going, wait a minute, why are they keeping this up?
Yeah.
If they're so wrong, why are there so many young people up in arms? And I saw a statistic recently which said that there's over 100,000 protests in China.
Yeah, annually.
Yeah. So there's people in China who already question. They're still patriotic. They still they still follow the nationalistic line, but they're not necessarily by what the Communist Party is telling them completely.
Right. Well, they experience it in their own lives.
Right. Corruption and land grabs and all that stuff, and pollution. That's usually what they protest in China, and labor issues. Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's tied into that.
I don't know. It's hard to say. But Lev Nachman, had the scholar who's here studying the NPP, and also myself and a couple of other people have tweeted this week about how it's remarkable how Hong Kong is not showing up at least in the TV here, and in the print media. You don't. The blue papers aren't talking about it at all. It's back pages. But even in like the Liberty Times and the Apple Daily, it's not something that's on the front pages every day.
Actually, Next News is covering it quite a bit.
Okay, but there's a lot of outlets that are not covering it very well.
Yeah. And
so people are probably much less affected than if you're sitting in Washington D.C. or London or Berlin or whatever, and you're looking at this and you're thinking, "Oh, Taiwan is hugely benefiting from these Hong Kong protests." It's just not the case.
No, it's helping a bit.
Yeah.
It's helping a bit.
It's certainly helping a bit, but.
I mean, I think fundamentally the reason that a KMT candidate right now can't win the presidency is because they are too pro-China. I think that ground is shifted out from under them. I think the Hong Kong thing sort of underline that. But I don't think that even if there was nothing going on in Hong Kong at all, I still think that would still be true.
Han would still be running at 25%.
Yeah.
Hong Kong has really very little to do with that. He's just not a strong candidate.
It's a few percentage points, I think, is shifted. I don't think it's,
And they're still talking about the 1992 consensus. Suu Kyi was out. Suu Kyi is a KMT heavyweight who was one of Ma Ying-jeou's advisors, and now he's sort of made Han his protege kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he's still kind of like the Rasputin of the KMT. That's how I see him. And anyway, so Suu Kyi was out this week talking about the 1992 consensus again, and that is not popular in Taiwan, and the KMT refuses to give that up. And every time they talk about that, they chill people. Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to point out about Hong Kong, too, is that the things that you see in Hong Kong and Xinjiang, the concentration camps, the surveillance, the violence, the steady erosion of freedoms, all these things that are happening in those places, these are things that are being trialed for the eventual occupation of Taiwan.
Yeah.
And one of the things they're trialing is to see how the world is going to react when they clamp down. Clearly, the world has done nothing about Xinjiang.
Yeah.
China has suffered zero cost for that.
And amazingly, they had at the UN human rights, 54 countries, including came out in support of China's
including
actions,
Muslim countries.
including Muslim countries. Pakistan was one of them. Was it Egypt? I think was another big one.
Yeah.
Iran definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And only
China's
20.
the largest investor in those countries.
I think only 23 countries came out in opposition.
Yeah.
Which is shocking to me. Everyone screams about the U.S. is all the atrocities committed by the Americans. Some of them are real, but in comparison to what's going on in Xinjiang, it's nothing.
I don't want to say that, but it's obvious that if you're screaming about America, but you're not screaming about China, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I think we've wandered onto the end here.
Yep. We should have hit the 30-minute mark. I think we're at the 30-minute mark.
All right. So thank you very much, people, for listening tonight. And working on next week when Donovan has promised me that he's going to get software for man-tit reduction.
All right. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button here on YouTube if you're there. Hit like on our Facebook page if you're there. Do whatever it is you do on your podcast.
All right. Thanks a lot. See ya.